AWA Championship Wrestling. The AWA presents the greatest stars in professional wrestling, bringing you the best in mat action.
Next Saturday, Mr. Hall, you and I, we're going to turn back time itself. And I'm going to take you back to Larry Land in a time when men were men and women were proud of it. When wrestlers loved having cauliflowered ears and busted up teeth. It was a sign of dignity. You know those wrestling lessons I used to give you when you started, when I rubbed your face in the mat? I want you to remember those. And I want that to seep in your mind when you see me standing across the ring looking at you eye to eye, because I remember Scott Hall when he started. I remember how you looked with that big handlebar mustache, a curly afro hairdo, and cowboy boots. You didn't have a clue who you were, did you? You looked like a cross between Dusty Rhodes and Link from the Mod Squad. And you still have the psychological insecurities today with that ridiculous oral fixation syndrome of sucking that confounded toothpick. You're a 12-year-old Hall walking around the world sucking your thumb psychologically because you still have no idea who you are. Now, you slick your hair back, you don't shave, you talk like you came out of the gutter, and you walk around like some kind of a limp noodle. Well, keep in your mind the days we talked about. Remember the Larry Land you once visited when the heavyweight champion of the world, the living legend himself, rubbed your face from pillar to post, because I'm going to do it again. And don't you dare make one mistake, because I'll capitalize on it. Don't you dare leave one opening for the master of human chess, because I will snatch you down.
All right, we are very pleased to welcome our guest at this time, who's no stranger to the world of professional wrestling, as his career in it has spanned over 4 decades, whether in the WWF, NWA, AWA, WCW, TNA, no matter the name of the promotion, he's always strived to deliver excellence in and outside the ring. Amongst many of his wrestling fans, he's perhaps known for his feud with wrestling legend Bruno Sammartino, former RCWR show guest, and the very same man who inducted our guest at this time in this year's WWE Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, appearing on the RCWR show for the very first time is the living legend, Mr. Larry Zbyszko. How are you, sir?
Well, Lee, I'm doing very good. Thank you very much. You know, it's a tough life in Florida today. I had a hard day of pool floating, so now I am tanner than the Hulk.
That might be a good thing, depending.
Yeah, it looks good on me. I have hair.
Well, I thank you so much for taking the time to do this. You did some work for the Pro Wrestling Syndicate promotion out in New Jersey. Can you tell the folks about that and the overall experience? Because we always try to strive to encourage folks to support local indie wrestling promotions.
You know what? You're going to have to refresh my memory. There's so many indies, right? And I really only kind of deal with the upper indies, I guess you would say, because most people can't afford me anyway. So I try to be reasonable, but I really don't need to fly around, you know, for money. So, but I did something in Jersey with some people. I think Eric was the guy's name.
It looks like Mick Foley was there, Bully Ray, Devon.
Yeah, Billy Ray Devon. Yeah, I did it for a guy named Eric, and he was a good guy, good people. I mean, it was a good, it was a good time, and they had a real good house, maybe 1,500 people or 1,200 people or something. I mean, it was a good, it was a good size venue, and it was a good setup. I mean, I don't do too much anymore, so sometimes I'm bored a lot. But now I'm back with the WWE doing stuff, so I'm not as bored. That's exciting and all that. And then I don't fly out, but once in a while I'll fly out and do something. And I'm doing something else with this Eric guy. June 5th, I'm flying in, I think, to Newark or LaGuardia and something around Long Island. In the morning, I'm doing a signing, and then in the evening, with me and Eric, we're doing something. Saturday night signings. Yeah, but I've had good experiences with everybody I've worked with. So I can't complain, and it's a fun thing, for the fans. They're usually not super big, so and then with the legends there, so it's an intimate setting, and fans get a chance to meet you, and it's fun because during my generation, during my prime and my time, it was almost taboo to meet the fans, especially if you were a hated guy. You didn't want to hate the fans. Half the fans would throw stuff at you, and you didn't want them to know you anyway because it killed the mystique, and even the good guys would sneak out because, it kept more of a mystique, and people, it was a different kind of business. But now that I'm a legend and I don't do anything, now it's fun to meet the fans and watch their faces light up. And, I'm really surprised how many younger people know me. I'm meeting people that are in their 20s and 30s, some even in their teens, that know more about me than me. And they know all about the me and Bruno stuff. And then, I guess WCW, gave me a whole new era, too, of, in the 90s, doing all that TV with the broadcasting and the New World Order stuff. But I'm amazed how many young people know about me. And the WWE Network, with all the shows they're going to be having coming out and the old footages and stuff, Legends are going to become more popular. So it's becoming fun. So it's kind of like I'm back home, and I'm doing enough to have fun, but not enough to drive myself crazy and have a nice kickback. The kids are grown. So I'm back in my my second childhood, chasing divas around. So.
well, it's good you're not going insane over there.
No, I'm not going insane. I'm actually one of the normal people for the wrestling business, especially my era.
We were talking about your Hall of Fame induction in the opening there, and I just have to say, as a wrestling fan, it was such an amazing night to see you officially go in, because when I was growing up as a kid in the 80s, I had my dad, my uncle, and my grandfather. They hipped me on the wrestling, and they kind of told me stories about, you and Bruno, early WWF with the Hulkster running around and all that. I got to ask you to follow up on your Hall of Fame induction. Did it seem surreal that, wow, you're now a WWE Hall of Famer, especially when you think about the company you have, not just with your Hall of Fame class, but just in general?
Oh, it was a thrill of a lifetime. And, I tried to keep it simple and not talk too philosophically. And it was a real interesting night because I didn't write any speech. I just wanted to go out and talk to the fans and tell them a quick story a true story about how, I was one of the biggest fans ever and just wanted to be like my hero. And one day I wound up crawling through these stupid giant hedges because I caught a glimpse of them. And it was like going through a rabbit hole. And it was like, the next thing I knew, I'm on the stage, I'm in the Hall of Fame, I got the same ring, and my dream kind of came true. But it was a wild experience because, all the energy in the room and was really cool. I kind of went into a different dimension. And I remember looking up and seeing people I knew, and it threw me off for a minute. I remember saying, I lost my train of thought. And then I don't remember saying a word until afterwards, and then Vince thought it was great, and Arnold Schwarzenegger pulled me over and said, you're the greatest actor, that was the greatest speech I ever heard, and the way you had that pause. I said, really? I said, I think I blanked out, Arnold. I remember what the hell I said. And then some guy in a big three-piece suit come running up, I'm so-and-so from the WWE Board of Directors. That was the greatest speech I ever heard. And I couldn't remember what the hell I said. I thought I went in a different dimension. And then I was watching replays of it, and I went, I did say that. It was wild. Vince said, yeah, you were in the moment, brother. That's what I wanted. I was in the twilight zone, man. It was wild.
Let me ask your opinion on something with regards to the Hall of Fame, because, you know, when we were all, from our TV vantage standpoint, when we were watching the whole event that was going on, we couldn't help but notice there was a little bit of heckling from the fans that was going on, like especially when Daniel Bryan had opened up about Connor, and there was a little bit of heckling going on when he was saying, hey, it's not all about me, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I also remember there was something going on with Roman Reigns. I think his name was mentioned or something, and there was heckling going on. A lot of people are kind of coming together saying, you know, we love these Hall of Fames. We want these nights to be special for individuals such as you and others, but maybe it should be a situation where it's closed off to the public. Like, it's just invitation to the wrestlers that's being inducted, their families, maybe media, certain media outlets, the press. Do you agree to an extent that maybe that's something WWE needs to play around with, or you don't think that's necessary?
Well, you know, I mean, unfortunately, it's like every other thing in the world. You know, there's 98% of humanity that are good, great people, and there's 2% of humanity that are psychopaths and idiots. So, you know, but to be honest with you, after my speech, I went off to the Twilight Zone, and I didn't see any of the rest. And I was backstage, and I went off in the Twilight Zone trying to remember what the hell I said, and people were, you know, and I didn't see the rest of the Hall of Fame thing, you know, and I really can't comment about the hecklers or what was said or, you know, everything they were doing. I mean, the Hall of Fame, I mean, the WWE becomes, it's really such a great company. I mean, I look at it and see some of their policies, and they are so nice. I mean, like, if it was me running it, do you think I'd put someone through rehab 10 times? I give them one shot. You know, you want to go to rehab here? Great. You messed up, you dummy, too bad. I mean, the company will bend over backwards to help people, and they'll, you know, like the Connor thing and the Hall of Fame and this and that. And that's really cool and sweet, you know, but, you know, like your comment, does it belong in the Hall of Fame? I don't know, you know.
Yeah, I respect that. Now, how did you first hear about your Hall of Fame induction? Can you take our listeners back to that monumental day?
Well, it was just a normal day, and I got a call from the WWE office, and Hunter and Vince just came out of a meeting, and they were working out the Hall of Fame, and got a call and said that they wondered if I would, they would like to have me in the Hall of Fame, and I think it was long overdue, and I said, well, thank you very much. I would love to now. It was a dream come true. So it was just a phone call. The hard part was, I knew like a couple months before. So the hard part was keeping my mouth shut. And then there was some rumors. Popping up, and then there was some rumors about Ray Stevens. And there were some rumors about me, and then they had a Raw in Pittsburgh, and it was originally scheduled to be shown in Pittsburgh, but then there was some more rumors, so they postponed it an extra week and showed it the week after Pittsburgh, which threw some kind of people off, because they figured they'd announce me in Pittsburgh. So it was kind of, but it was the hardest part, to talk to people and stuff, and not tell them anything, and deny things, and keep my big mouth shut. That was the hardest part of the whole thing, was not telling anybody. Not even my kids, I know, so when they finally found out, it was like, oh, you son of a B, you got us. Oh, man.
During your speech, you took time to thank key individuals for helping you along the way. One of those people was your father-in-law, Mr. Verne Gagne, and definitely our condolences, as well as our listeners' condolences to you and your family for your loss. Can you tell our listeners what it was like working with Verne in the AWA?
Well, you know what? Verne was a fun guy. Verne was, one of the last of an era of an old school promoter. He was a guy who was an old wrestler, a tough guy who appreciated tough guys. and that kind of style. And the AWA was, in those days, really a premium territory, and one of the territories that was hard to get into. The WWF was like, the big territory because it had the whole Northeast and the population and that, and all the magazines at that time, which was the PR, would come out of the Northeast mostly. But the AWA was a great territory to work in because in the wintertime, which was long and horrible, through that Minnesota area, and they went all the way out to Denver, San Francisco, Chicago, and that Salt Lake City, and Las Vegas. It was a great place to work, but you'd only work really 9 months out of the year, pretty busy, like the normal everyday schedule, just about. But then 3 months during the summer, Verne didn't run much because in the summer the weather was good and everybody wanted to get the hell out of the house because for 9 months they're snowed in. So it was a gold mine, in the winter, and a nice break in the summer. And he was a good payoff guy, and because his overhead was different, there was a difference. If you were the opening bout in Madison Square Garden, you'd make $300. If you were the opening bout in St. Paul, Minnesota on a sellout, you'd make $1,500. So, it was a good place to make money because Verne didn't have all the high overhead like the New York State income tax and, New York City income tax, Madison Square Garden, 50% of everything tax and all that, overhead stuff. So it was a great territory.
What were the differences between, you think, in your eyes, Verne Gagne, the AWA wrestler and promoter, versus father-in-law to you?
In terms of a father-in-law, he was a great guy. Him and Granny would come over, play. They used to like to play 500 with me and Kathy, and so me and him would versus the ladies, and they'd always be cussing at each other. It was a cartoon, and he was a very loving, grand, parent. Always took care of his grandkids, and jovial guy. He was a good guy, it was really sad because in the last 4 or 5 years, the poor guy, the Alzheimer's, was so bad. He had no idea he was even there. The family were kind of sorry we had a pacemaker put in him some years ago because it just wound up keeping basically a body alive, and he wasn't in there. And then, he couldn't get up. It was just living in a wheelchair 24/7. Legs were no circulation. They were all black and purple and blue. And if he got up, he fainted. He couldn't talk because it was getting pathetic. We wouldn't let a dog do that. So, and then that went on for another. He's in hospice for the last year. So, it's like, it got to the point where, God bless him. He had a great life. And he was a great guy, but, just got to the point where, everybody's just finally relieved, and he's resting in peace. And he was a great guy and had a great life, left a great legacy.
I always tell people, and hopefully you agree with me on this. If you don't, it's okay, but I have been telling folks since his passing, those that's not familiar with the AWA promotion, to check out the WWE DVD that came out, I think it was in 2006, The Spectacular Legacy of the AWA. You make an appearance on there, and just the way they talked about the AWA promotions, like any and everything that you wanted to know about its rich history and the Verne Gagne family. I just, it's one of the best. It's something that I still play constantly to this day.
Oh, yeah. It was one of the classics. It was a great territory. There was a couple other ones. I worked AWA, the NWA, some for Georgia Championship, and then the WW. Those were the biggest ones. There was other ones, Memphis and some other small. I never worked the smaller ones. But I was lucky. I had a break early. Being Bruno's protege was a break, and then I was like 20, maybe 7 or 8 years old when I pulled off the 1980 Bruno thing. But that was so huge that was a break of a lifetime. That kept me hated for 20 years, everywhere I went. And then I got another 10 years out of that with the broadcasting, with WCW. So, I had a lucky break, but I was smart enough to know how to use it, and I was taught by a group of guys that were old school. Bruno taught me all the psychology, and Chief J. Strongbow, and Monsoons, and the Scolans, and the guy names that people wouldn't even know, and so I have an education from an era that no one knows anymore. And it was a cool thing, and I was smart enough, to use it. Where even though wrestling changed, people believed Larry Zbyszko was an asshole. No matter what they thought about wrestling, I could walk out the ring and people would go nuts, and they were convinced, what an asshole for real this guy is. I mean, the funny bit was ESPN Classic started showing some, maybe a few years ago. They were showing them like twice a day for a couple of years. And I did some TNA stuff a little bit in the early 2000s. And I knew AJ and Chris Daniels and the big guy, what's his name? I forget, damn it. Shit. Anyway, all the TNA guys when they were new, James Storm and Abyss, the Abyss, and I knew them all when they were young, but they were too young to notice to see me in my prime, and then I stopped going to TNA, but I went back one time to say hi, and then I do all the free rides at Universal, and then they were watching the ESPN stuff, and then they were all running up to me horrified. AJ and Daniels and Chris, they were all horrified. They're going, God, how could you be like that? You were such an asshole. I said, yeah, there's no good bad guys anymore.
Have you been keeping up with the current TNA product?
You know what? I haven't, to be honest with you. I've been back with the WWE doing stuff, and every Monday I get together with one of my buddies and we watch the Raw show so we know what's going on, and the PC Center's down the road with NXT, so I like talking to the younger guys and, passing on some stuff. But I haven't had any chance, by the time I'm done watching all that stuff, I'm wrestled out, so I really don't know anything. I thought TNA was going out of business.
I thought so too, but it seems like they, I don't know, cat with 9 lives. That's the best way I can put it.
Is Dixie still involved? I have no idea what's going on with them.
Yeah, Dixie is still involved. Just a brief recap. They lost their deal with Spike TV. There was a couple of months where nobody knew what was going on. About maybe 2 to 3 months went past, and then they got a deal with Discovery. Yeah, they're now on Destination America, which is only available in 65% of TV households. I mean, the product seems to be better than right before they left Spike TV, but I think they're doing okay. They could be better. I mean, it's like one of those wait and see,
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I haven't watched any of it. I don't even know who's there, so I mean, I can't say anything. I wouldn't have a clue what to say.
Now, NXT, talk about that. I understand you try to check that out a lot, as often as you can.
Well, it's right down the road. Yeah, I've been going to all the NXT shows because that's where the students are, getting a good shot to move up, and it's right down the street, and it worked out great. And but it's a great setup, and they got some, some good talent coming out of there.
Anybody in particular that jumps out at you, talent-wise?
Well, you know what? There are, but I don't want to say, I can't say much about anything like that. They got, I think in the near future, the people are going to be freaking out. It's going to be so great.
Ah, okay. Did you get a chance to see Sami Zayn's Raw's debut earlier this week?
Yeah, I saw Sami Zayn. Who he wrestled? Cena? Yeah, no. Yeah, I saw that. Sami's very good.
Very good match. I know you said you signed some type of a Legends contract with WWE. Can you tell the fans of yours what they can expect anytime in the next couple of months as far as seeing you on future DVDs or any type of projects they should be on the lookout for? Anything you might be able to share with them?
Oh, gee, I mean, I wish I knew something. The only thing I can say, the WrestleMania Hall of Fame DVDs, I guess, they'll be coming out with the Hall of Fame stuff on it. And, they have a lot of new programming scheduled for the network. Some of that I might be involved with, and I'm not sure yet, but I think some of it may have to do with, like we were talking about, a lot of the old footage they have. Because they basically have thousands and thousands of hours of, free programming. It's, great footage of classic guys and, from the 50s, 60s, 70s, the whole history. So, all they need is a couple of announcers and an editor, and they can make, all kind of cool shows and programming and stuff. So I'm going to be more involved in that, and they got all that right down the street at the PC Center. They got the, interview room and the play-by-play room and the ring. So it's a great setup. And you know what? There's a new era. I mentioned this in my speech and tried not to get too far over people's heads, but I've seen a few different eras in wrestling in my years, and there's a new one that's underway now, and it's still taking a couple years, 2-3 years for an era to complete itself and something to happen. If you look back in 1980, you can look back and go, wow, Shea Stadium, that really marked the end of the old school era, because that was the hugest thing ever heard of in those days. But then right after that was a new era, and it was national TV, and pay-per-view began, and instead of having a one Bruno show, you had 10 different characters, and they were all the Hulk, and the Macho, and the Superfly, and the Warrior, and, the era of the characters, and different. Now they got a different era that's actually kind of coming back to where they were in the 70s, where, every month, you want it exciting enough so some fan buys a $10 ticket to Madison Square Garden. And that's the same with the network. So, a pay-per-view for $9.99 plus all the programming, it should be a no-brainer. It's doing great. And I think it's going to be, huge, super huge, in the future.
I agree. I agree. I was saying this a couple of weeks ago to my girlfriend and our listeners on there. I said, the way that we have the WWE Network, they've really started a good domino effect, because now you got HBO, you got Showtime, all of them are now trying to get into this whole, well, let's do our own little network app too and try to offer it at a very low price. There's just no comparison. It's like, would you rather pay $30, $40, $50, $60 for a pay-per-view that some parts might be good, some parts might be bad, or would you rather walk away paying $10, and with that $10, even if it turns out, heaven forbid, you don't like the pay-per-view that you get for that month, there's hundreds and hundreds of hours of great content you can check out.
Yeah, there's all kind of cool stuff. So, it's a hell of a deal. And when you think about it, there's no middleman, because you don't got to split money with the cable company, you don't got to split, so it's just like you don't got to split money with Madison Square Garden and pay New York State tax. So it should be a great deal for the fans, and I'm telling you, ever since I've been back with the WWE, I've been amazed. I've been amazed how huge it is, and how well it's organized, and how nice the people are that are involved in it, and how caring they are. They don't have to do half the stuff they do with these charities. It's really a hell of a company. Hunter and stuff, and it's really a cool company, and I'm thrilled to be back with them. It's kind of like the end of the cycle of my chapter. I kind of wound up ending up my career where I started my dream off, you know.
Hopefully I'm speaking on behalf of all your fans when I say this, but it's definitely bittersweet, no doubt, that your career has come full circle and you're working again with the WWE in some type of capacity, and we definitely look forward to seeing what projects you're going to be involved with as far as the network goes, future DVDs, etc., or hey, maybe a special appearance on Raw or SmackDown, who knows. But hey, Mr. Zbyszko, I definitely want to take this time out to thank you humbly for taking the time out to do this. It definitely means a lot to us, our listeners, your fans for sure. We definitely need to do this again. It would be really awesome to kick back next go round and talk about the old territory days and some other stuff. I definitely would love to do this again. So yeah, let's definitely try to make this happen. But definitely thank you very much for taking the time out to do this. It really means a lot.
Well, you're welcome, Lee, and you have a good one, brother. Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy all episodes of the RCWR show on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Spreaker, and iHeartRadio.